There are days in Santa Clara when the biggest story does not come in loud. It shows up in the details. A linebacker getting squeezed by the depth chart, a possible major swing on the market, a veteran changing the feel of the offense, and a backup quarterback talking like a guy who finally found some peace after NFL chaos. That is where the 49ers behind-the-scenes picture gets dangerous, because every little decision starts connecting to the title window. Today is not just a roster update, it is a read on the room, on trust, and on messages being sent inside that building. Drop a like and stay with me because the Niners are building something we need to understand now. Start with the kind of situation that usually does not become a national headline, but inside a competitive building, it carries real weight. Nick Martin is entering year 2 without the comfort a third-round pick would want. He came out of Oklahoma State with the reputation of a tackling machine, but his path in San Francisco started off rough. His stock slipped in camp, the preseason was rough, then came the concussion, and his rookie season was basically cut short after 7 games. And when a young player loses time like that, the NFL does not sit around and wait out of sympathy. The hardest part is that the board changed while Martin was trying to get himself back. D. Winters was traded, yes, but Dre Greenlaw coming back completely changes the weight of that room. With Greenlaw and Fred Warner at the top, there is no real debate about the linebacker hierarchy, and keeping Luke Gifford shuts another door Martin probably thought he could push open this summer. So as camp gets closer, the conversation behind the scenes is not comfortable. He has to prove he still belongs. Then Jaden Duggar steps into the picture. When the 49ers use an early day 3 pick in the 2026 draft on a linebacker, especially one with clear influence from K.J. Wright, that feels like a warning. Duggar comes in more aligned with what Raheem Morris wants to build, especially in coverage, while Martin is a player Morris inherited, a guy with interesting aggression, but still needing more polish. That difference matters because a new coach usually speeds up the decision toward the player who fits the system from day one. I am not saying it is finished for Martin, not even close. Camp exists for exactly this kind of turnaround. If he shows cleaner reads, better control with his angles, and impact in practices, the conversation can shift quickly. But if Duggar looks more dependable in coverage and more ready to own a special role, the room starts shrinking fast. And for a third-rounder to become 1 year and done would sting. July and August for Nick Martin are not just preparation, they are judgment. Then the conversation shifts to a different room. We go from a battle for a spot at the back of the roster to the kind of name that makes the whole building raise its head. Because when Kayvon Thibodeaux starts popping up as a possibility connected to the 49ers, this is not just curiosity. This is defensive identity. This is John Lynch looking at the NFC and asking whether this pass rush is scaring anybody the way it has to. The connection comes from speculation, fit, and the market. But there is empty speculation, and then there is speculation that touches a real wound. San Francisco cannot go through an entire season depending on Nick Bosa to clean up all the chaos by himself. Bosa is elite. He is the engine. He is the kind of player who changes protection before the snap. But that is exactly why offenses already walk in ready to slide help, double him, delay routes, and limit his first impact. If the other side does not punish them, half the advantage disappears. Thibodeaux, in that kind of scenario, becomes a dangerous idea. He is still young, explosive, a former top 5 pick, and this is not an aging veteran at the end of the road trying to squeeze into whatever role is left. He is an edge rusher with physical tools, real upside, and a reason to grow if he is placed next to a star like Bosa. Imagine the call inside an opposing offensive meeting. If you send protection toward Bosa, you leave Thibodeaux one-on-one. If you respect Thibodeaux, Bosa gets room. That is the kind of dilemma that brings fear back to a defensive front. The behind-the-scenes detail that keeps this topic alive is happening in New York. The Giants have poured a lot into their defensive line, and Thibodeaux is entering a contract stage that could force real decisions. When a franchise starts weighing future money, roster priorities, and trade value, listening to offers sometimes stops sounding crazy and starts sounding like management. If that door opens, the 49ers have to be in that conversation at least. Of course, there is a price. The Giants would not just hand over a pass rusher with that kind of profile as a favor. It could take serious draft capital, a conditional package, and a negotiation that makes San Francisco pause. But real contenders pause and still pick up the phone when the right player becomes available. Because a 49ers defense with Bosa on one side and Kavon Thibodeaux on the other would not just be stronger on paper. It would send a message. The front line is back to being a threat that can flip an entire Sunday. While the defense is trying to bring that terror back off the edge, the offense is sending a different kind of signal. Kyle Shanahan may have finally gotten a piece that changes the way Brock Purdy breathes inside the play. Mike Evans in a 49ers uniform still feels strange to a lot of people, I get it. Your brain needs a few seconds to accept it. But when you look at the history, the frame, the route intelligence, and the needs San Francisco has been dealing with over the last 2 years, the image starts making sense way too fast. Evans' arrival carries even more weight because a rival inside the conference made a massive move too. The Rams went out and got Myles Garrett, a brutal move in a division that does not forgive hesitation. But the 49ers had already answered in a different way, not with a defender, but with an elite target, a future Hall of Famer who spent almost his entire career stacking 1,000-yard season after 1,000-yard season outside of that injury-hit 2025 campaign. That is not just a cute resume detail. That is the pattern of a big-time player, and the early signs from OTAs are exactly the kind of thing that stirs the fan base. Yes, padless practices favor the offense. Yes, installing plays in the spring is not playoff Sunday. But when Evans starts showing up in team clips, catching passes from Purdy, winning near the sideline, and drawing attention from reporters tracking every rep, you do not ignore it. Grant Cohn noted that Evans won easily near the boundary and pointed to something that could become gold for this offense: the low red zone. That is where the fit starts to look beautiful. Evans does not need to be the guy running 40 yards downfield all the time. Shanahan can use Jacob Cowing and rookie Dejon Stribling to stretch the field, force safeties to respect the speed, and let Evans work where he is still a physical and technical problem. Outside the numbers, near the sideline, in body position battles, and in the short spaces where experience turns into separation. For Purdy, that is a trust valve. And look at how that connects to the bigger pressure of the season. After years of watching the roster deal with receiver shortages, injuries, and patchwork solutions, San Francisco did not just need another name. It needed someone who could give shape to specific situations. Third down, red zone, contested catches, adjustments against tight coverage. Evans may not be the most explosive player in the league anymore, but for this offense, in this moment, he may be exactly the veteran who turns small plays into big points. The fourth story might be the most human one of the day, because it does not start with a sack, a route, or a draft pick. It starts with a player sounding like someone who has been through too much turbulence and finally found a place where he can breathe again. Mac Jones was not treated by the 49ers like a disposable piece. It was the opposite. The read from inside is simple. Unless someone put a heavy offer on the table, maybe a first-rounder, maybe a second depending on the situation, San Francisco was not moving him. That says plenty about how Kyle Shanahan and the organization view stability in the quarterback room. Brock Purdy is the starter, the face of the project, and the center of the operation. But anyone who follows the NFL knows a season can turn on one snap. Having a backup who understands the system, who has already shown he can function in it, and who does not walk into the building every day as a distraction, is a competitive luxury. The 49ers know that. Mac seems to know it too. His comments carry a rare kind of honesty. He admitted every quarterback wants a chance to start, but said he loves it there, that he is not in the business of leaving good people, and that he sees a great organization. After dealing with unstable environments since he entered the league, that matters. And maybe the most revealing part is when he says this is his first year in the NFL with the same playbook. To a lot of people, that sounds like a technical note. For a quarterback, that is firm ground. The franchise also gave him a $300,000 raise, a small gesture compared to the monster contracts around the league, but still a loud message. Mac's response was even stronger. He said it has never really been about the money, and that he is happy to be having fun playing football again. To me, that is pure behind-the-scenes material. It is a player who could look outside for any promise of a starting job, but understands that leaving a good environment could throw his career right back into chaos. That is why a new deal after 2026 starts feeling more realistic than a lot of people expected. Maybe something around $5 million with incentives makes sense if both sides want to keep this relationship going. And I want to hear from you. Would the faithful rather invest in keeping Mac Jones as a luxury insurance policy? Or should that money go to another part of the roster? Because on a team fighting for a title, the right backup quarterback can save an entire season. I come out of these four stories with a very clear feeling. The 49ers are in a phase where nothing feels small. Nick Martin's roster fight shows that this team does not wait for anybody. The Kayvon Thibodeaux idea shows the defense may still look for a heavy swing. Mike Evans is already showing why he can change decisive areas of the field. And Mac Jones reminds us that stability wins games too. I will keep watching every signal coming out of Santa Clara, because real contenders are built in these details. If you want daily Niners coverage, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and stay with me for the next video.